Nicole, it's lovely to see you. So we're here this morning with Nicole Mollett, who's one of the artists who's been commissioned as part of the Welcome to Rainham project. Nicole, we can see the art in the back actually, but my first question is actually going to be, could you describe the piece that you're making for the Welcome to Rainham project?
Yeah, sure. So my project, I started off with a proposal called Eco Rainham. So I guess I'm calling that as the final piece. But the work consists of a series of two elements. One is a sign which spells out the word. And that is actually basically pointing towards what I consider to be the actual work, which is a series of small drawings. So originally I was going to do like a larger installation in a shop window, but I've struggled to find actually the space to do a large installation. So what my solution for the problem was, but I actually quite like this permutation anyway, is the work is going to be a series of miniature drawings that is a bit like a treasure hunt. So viewers will come into Rainham, presumably by train, but they might walk as well, and see the sign, and then that will kind of challenge them or suggest to them to start looking for these artworks. And they'll be in a range of shops. Obviously the shop owner will know where they are, but rather than, you know, clearly labeling them, I want them to be something that people perhaps come across by chance. They might not have seen the sign and they'll be like, oh, what's this? And then that will kind of spark their curiosity to find the rest of the artworks.
That sounds like a lovely idea, actually. So it'd be like a sort of little treasure hunt, won't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So did you kind of know Rainham before you began this project, or is it a place that you've explored?
Partly. I wouldn't by any means claim to be a local. I've worked in Rainham before. I've got friends who live there, and like when I started looking at putting a proposal towards this call out, I immediately noticed, just simply on social media alone, how passionate certain members of the community were about the environment. Obviously Rainham, you know, is set within what you would define as a sort of semi-rural area. There's you know, if you come to it from the Medway Tunnel, there's like literally fields and fields of orchards and various different farmers' fields, and then obviously it's, you know, sprawling residential areas. But you know, looking at it and speaking to friends and local people, I realised that, you know, people really care about their local environment, the nature, but also obviously the wider issue of climate change and what they can do to help sort of prevent, you know, possible negative outcomes in the future. So there's things like there's a recycling hub. You know, there's a place where you can refill food with your own containers, thus, you know, putting more or less plastic into the production chain. There's a group of people who've been planting trees in various local parks, and obviously the more trees we have, the less CO2 there is. There's all, you know, there's multiple you know, different aspects of this, but I just noticed that, you know, people are really you know, passionate about the environment, and I thought this is a really interesting thing, because not every, you know, people aren't like that everywhere, obviously, and I think this is something worth celebrating, and it's something that makes Rainham special.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess with in Medway, we live so near to the river. That's definitely something that we've got to think about with all the sort of storms and flooding that we've had recently. So I think it's definitely a good thing that Rainham is doing that, I think, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, everybody should be doing it, but like especially, I mean, I was part of the Big Green Week last year, which is like a new nationwide initiative, and they shared some maps of like the whole of the Kent coastline, and you know, it's not a joke. Scientists have literally predicted that in 20 or 30 years time, which, you know, hopefully is within my lifetime, you know, areas are literally going to disappear to water, whether it's irregular flooding or literally the sea level's rising and you can't live there. But the map is quite scary. The areas that are in red are quite extensive, because basically a lot of Medway, a lot of Swale is very low lying, close to the river level. So you don't need much of a rise in sea levels in order to make areas basically flooded. And so, yeah, even if you aren't that passionate about, you know, cute little furry animals, or, you know, you don't go walking regularly outdoors, you know, most people will probably care if their home is at risk of being flooded, you know. So it's a real issue that affects everybody. And, you know, if we bury our heads in the sand, nothing's going to change, you know. So, I mean, as you can see, I obviously feel a certain way about it, but I understand that not everybody does. But still, you can't ignore it. It's more and more becoming obvious that we all have to do something. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's important that artists do highlight this, because obviously it's a way that we can get the message across, which isn't perhaps going to be as ignored, or it might just go in a bit more of a subtle way than a news report that you might want to turn off.
Yeah, exactly, because it can be quite depressing when you read the facts. And I mean, that's one of the things I wanted to say actually, was that, like, generally speaking, you know, as a lowly individual, you might read stuff about climate change and go, what can I do? You know, oh my God, you know, it's scary, it's complex, it's overwhelming, you know. And often you might think, oh, it's happening over there, it's not going to happen here, you know. So there is I would understand and empathise with people who kind of feel powerless, but, you know, the point is that you can do very little things, and even simply by connecting with nature, so becoming more aware of nature, you know, learning about, you know, your local wildlife, perhaps, you know, creating a small habitat, even if you've only like got a small flower pot or something on a balcony, you know, there's things you can do that can help. And I think this is what the point of my project is, you know, obviously I don't expect everybody to suddenly turn into kind of eco activists and joining Extinction Rebellion, although that would be cool. But, you know, the point is that if we all just did a little bit more and made small incremental decisions within our lives, thinking, you know, oh, you know what, I can walk to the shops, I don't need to drive there, then all together the collective action would have an impact. So I sort of think that's kind of more my point, or that's what I'm trying to highlight, isn't to sort of like shove some massive political message down people's throats, but more to sort of go, okay, you know, everybody can do something, and isn't this a wonderful thing that, you know, we've all got the power to make small changes, and those small changes might add up to something, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Every little change can like add up to a big change. Brilliant. So could you tell me a little bit more about your own general artistic practice?
Yes, so I like to, well, the sort of arts term is I make socially engaged art, but some people might find that a little bit pretentious. Basically, I like to work with communities, and not really, I mean, I do make work for gallery spaces, but quite early on I realised that I found the art world a little bit sterile, and I felt like there's more interesting work that happens out in the public realm, and so that's where I've placed myself. I mostly draw, I do performance, I do make sculpture, but primarily, especially in the last, say, 5 or 6 years, I've done a lot of stuff drawing, but working with different practitioners as well. I really like to collaborate. So, you know, I've done animation work, I've done a lot of work with writers where we make kind of a similar thing, you know, like making a collection of works rather than just like the singular work. And yeah, I've done quite a bit of work where maybe with a project I run a workshop, and perhaps the members of the workshop, you know, people who attend the workshop help influence what the final outcome is. So that's kind of the way I like to produce art.
Fantastic. And I know that you've done quite a few bits in Medway over the past couple of years as well. So that's great. Where can we actually see more of your work? Are you online?
Yeah, well, Instagram is like the most up to date, so you just type my name into Instagram and hopefully you'll find me. But yeah, my website is the sort of long-term archive, and it's got some of the more older works. I've actually got stuff from my BA on there, so it's quite a kind of long-term thing. But yeah, my website or Instagram are the best places. So
brilliant. So that's about it, Nicole. Thanks for chatting today.
quick.
Yeah. And I will look forward to seeing the piece once it's up from the 26th of March, all around Rainham.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I'm looking forward to seeing everybody else's work as well.
Yeah, absolutely.